Switching gears or adding to what you were saying a bit ago, you're talking
Mhm.
about Olivia Wilde. So what is the main issue that's going on here? Because it feels like, this was a lot of press
I mean,
going into
it's
the
just
movie.
never ending for this poor woman. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, whatever truly happened within her relationship with Jason Sudeikis and how it ended and why it ended and all that is, at the end of the day, it's no one's business. And now the nanny wants to get into the mix, and she is apparently sharing these text messages that she says she received from Jason where he felt like he was blindsided about the end of their relationship. And the whole salad dressing thing is so ridiculous to me. But apparently, she had like a special salad dressing she would make for their family, and he got upset because she was taking it over to Harry Styles. And it just became such a ridiculous thing to where even Olivia kind of jumped in, and she shared an excerpt from a book about salad dressing and was like
Mm.
ultimately like sharing her salad dressing recipe. But then now Grey Poupon is getting in on it, and they're trying to capitalize on all this drama because that was one of the ingredients in the recipe. So they have these limited edition bottles. Don't Worry, Dijon, a play off of her movie Don't Worry, Darling, and it's just insane.
I don't mind if they maximize it, but it is a little too much, Like you got to let these are real people,
These
and
are
I
real
understand.
people.
I do understand, you could have an opinion. Take it to Twitter, have your opinion, but the reality is they are real people. I always think about it as when you judge as harsh as you do, try to remember there's kids involved a lot of times,
Yeah.
and like what is that like? Would that be a situation? Sure, your parents are successful and you have, bigger, access to a lot of things in school and stuff like that, but you still don't want to see the nonsense with your parents, splashed all over every magazine. I just don't think it's, particularly
No,
healthy. So
right.
why jump into it?
And
Um,
what does age have to do with anything? Guys date younger women all the time. Like all the
oh
time.
well,
There's on-set romances all the time between
what makes you break
directors,
it down?
and it was in some articles too, and comments that people are leaving. It's like, she has no business like dating this younger guy and all this and that. But it's the same thing that men get praised for. Again, I mean, there's directors that have had affairs with younger leading ladies on their sets, and weren't dragged through as much as she is being right now. I think one of the biggest ones was when Kristen Stewart had that affair with her Snow White and the Huntsman director, and a lot of people put all the blame on her.
Mm.
And it was mostly targeted to her, and not really putting a lot of that on him as
And
far as the media stories.
a lot of it might even be a bias that people don't even realize. Like
Totally.
they don't actually acknowledge like, oh wow, I am being a little harsher than I would have had it
Hmm.
been the guy, just because these are the things that have been fed to us in terms of what's acceptable and not acceptable. Luckily, I'm not going to contradict what you're saying, but I
Hmm.
actually haven't seen as many stories about Olivia Wilde,
Hmm.
and sort of these negative comments. I'm just saying I have not seen them. I'm not
Yeah.
disagreeing with you, but it hasn't come to the point where I was like, oh my, I seen
Hmm.
that too, Kelly. Versus you saying, oh, this is what's happening, and then we looked into it, and I was like, oh wow, it kind of sucks for her. So
Right, because
maybe,
she just did, she just gave a speech at the 29th annual L Women in Hollywood gala that they had in LA. And you know, she she talked about how women need to stick together, and don't need to fall into the pressures of what's happening around, because the more that we support each other, like the harder it will be to for all of this to divide us. And she kind of made a joke that people were actually giving her shit for too. She said, you're not really a woman in Hollywood until you want to be like put into a medically induced coma until your press tour is over. And
oh,
she was just kind of making light of all of the
mhm.
drama that's been kind of happening to her. And Variety wrote a story about it, and I was just kind of reading people's reaction and comments to it, and it's very harsh. And people are looking at it one-sided. And I wonder too if people are looking at Jason Sudeikis as Ted Lasso and thinking that he's one and the same, and they're feeling sorry for him based upon that character, and not really knowing, because nobody knows the real story, right? Like nobody really knows. Nobody's involved in it but the two of them, and you just got to believe what they decide to say. But
That is another thing.
if you're looking at it from their character points of view, I wonder if that's where a lot of the harshness comes from, because everybody's in love with that show, and he's such an endearing character, and if they're confused between that and the real person, and being a little bit extra harsh because of that.
I don't know why they're so into that show. I tried to watch it,
Oh,
you
you
know,
don't
and
like
I
it? I love
I
it.
know I'm not what is so special? I'll say it like this. What is so special about it? Like what is so good? Like I don't understand what's so good. Like I
So
don't
good
get
about
it.
it is the
Mm.
good is that he comes in, he's
That he
made fun
feels
of,
quirky
that
and then
it's
he feels emotional
no,
in the middle.
it's the good. It's about pushing the good out to overcome the shit. People are mistreating him, making fun of him and all that, and he perseveres at it by still being a good person. And in turn, it brings out the good in all the people being
Hmm.
shitty that are so used to being shitty. That's what makes it special.
But are they being shitty or they just come from a different culture and speak differently? They're like more abrasive versus he's the out of towner. He's the one visiting. Maybe his little
But it's the way that you react to people, right? Again, it goes with, because somebody's different, you treat them like shit because you think it's stupid.
no, I'm just
No,
saying
but
I
I
don't
mean, like, that's how it kind of goes. So
yeah.
he's different. They treat him like he's stupid and he doesn't know anything. And
Well,
it's like a lot of the characters are mean. Yeah, I mean, you'll
well,
have to watch it and decide for
Isn't
yourself.
he? No, I've watched a little and I'm just like,
Well,
what
I
is
mean,
this?
I don't know. I guess
No, and probably it's the classic case of it was overexposed and overhyped that I went to go look
totally.
at it. I was like, "What is?" I can't even locate what the story is, you know. And I also get really turned off by the will. Hey, my name is Ted Lasso. Oh, this is so funny. Like I'm just like, what? Give me an emotion. I need emotion. And then I remember
But
watching
there
it.
is a lot of that in there
Well, I
once
know
you
there's
get
the
concerned
moments where
it.
he had like was there and he had just broken up with his wife on the show. So, anyways,
Mhm.
it's not about Ted Lasso, but it is about you're right. Maybe they're like love the show. This was one of the bigger Emmy award winning shows 2 seasons ago. So people just like say it's one and the same. It's like no, it's Jason
I mean, it
Sudeikis.
could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually had I have a mutual friend with the two of them. And I was like randomly at this like Memorial Day like backyard party where they were both there, super
Mm.
nice with their kids and you know, like very nice people. I've, been around the two of them a lot. They owned a restaurant together in LA and um I even worked and did a party for Booksmart when that came out at South by Southwest, and they were both there. And but you never know what's going on in people's relationships, and to pick it apart in such a way is, I guess it comes with the territory of being a famous person, but at the end of the day, just being so harsh on you know females for the double standard of what society depicts as such is just an unfortunate thing. And I hope one day that we can kind of get away from that and just not always be so harsh to one another.
Yeah, I want us to go back to being funny on Twitter. You could still be celebrity culture, pop culture, obsessed or whatever. But like if your funny thing is you're always shitting on somebody, that's just like in general. Like, I think we do a good job at that. Yeah, the show's called Difficult Podcasters, but we wouldn't hurt a fly. I think we keep it pretty good. We actually purposely select to keep certain stories off of our show because we don't want to go to certain things that just don't make sense for what we do.
Mhm.
Do you agree? Do you agree with what
Well, yeah,
I'm
and the
kind of?
difficultness is more about all the challenges we face just to get here and the difficulties that we
Well,
face in
yes,
life.
yeah,
It's not really about picking apart other people. But it's okay to have a difference of opinion. But once you're being judgmental and just being ugly, that's where the line I feel gets crossed a little too
right.
easily.
We could polarizingly be on the other sides of opinions. Like I told you, I have not seen a lot of Olivia Wilde hate like you have, but that's just
Mhm.
me saying I haven't seen it. I'm open to like Kelly saying, "No, look at this article," and she's texting me these articles.
Yes,
But
sorry.
instead of compiling them in an email like I require, no. But it's that thing where we do a really good job. We don't want to, as it's been said, this is not the teardown show. It's
Mhm.
difficult because we're difficult, and it's also relatable because you've like you said you were at a party, for this event and that event. We've worked in the business, so we've seen some
Mhm.
stuff, and you think of it for yourself too, like you know who's to say our podcast doesn't become the biggest thing since sliced bread? And it's like, oh, we have to suddenly be like, well, we could just shit on Ronnie every day. Like, no, I do have feelings though, too. And if I make a misstep, that's a different thing. But
Mhm.
like, people are just getting a little too cocky online with the Twitter and the Reddit and the
Well,
opinions.
it's
Like,
really easy to hide behind a keyboard, and it has been since the dawn of social media, especially that it's everybody's voice has become more heightened because are now so many platforms to
yeah.
share these opinions, which can be a good and a bad
Mm.
thing. And it's just kind of how we choose to take them, but they also can be very damaging. And I think one of the things that I like about what we do here is like taking responsibility for your shortcomings and also praising each other for the good things that come too. I mean, there are a lot of crazy things about, my personality that I feel I can work on, and I look back on life, and as I've said a million times, like being reflective at this stage in life and wishing I had looked at situations different and not been so emotional in reactions, and kind of, done better than I did in a lot of situations. And that's just kind of what I want to focus on moving forward. And it's still a challenge. Every day is a challenge. I mean, I didn't want to compile those damn links in an email. so, but
well, you're
at
still
times
thriving.
you got to think about
You're-
other, you got to
You're
think about
thriving,
others.
Kellie.
You can't be selfish.
You are.